probably one of the most gentle, kindest, sweetest humans that I know and have had the pleasure of getting to know. And she's got such a creative mind in the way that she writes and in the way that she thinks. And so I really wanted you guys to hear that perspective, and from someone who just really knows what it means to serve and to help other people. And I think that's so important when it comes to your brand and who you are. So Angela, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So let's just get into it. What, growing up for you, what did that look like? And who were some of the people that played a really big part in who you are?
Oh, wow. Yeah, I grew up with 3 sisters. I grew up in a British home, so very proper. And we were the Joneses, so keep up with us. The slogan, but it was fine. But yeah, our life was just, my dad's a builder. My mom was a stay-at-home mom that did like finances for my dad's company. And I'm the youngest of 3 girls. So I was a follower growing up, but I was the sweet one. My sisters might say otherwise, but yeah, our childhood was pretty good. Went to school. My mom was a stay-at-home mom at times, but also went to work. And so during summer holidays, my mom was pretty, like when she was at work, she was very much proactive in making sure we weren't sitting in front of the TV screen. So she gave us a list of to-dos that we had to complete during the day. So when she came home, she checked it off. And a lot of it was fun though. I need you guys to write a story. I want you to write a story. I want you to read 5 chapters of this book. I want you to make an art project. So a lot of different creativity things in the summer for our family growing up. But I would say that I was really grateful for that leadership from my mom, because I was somebody who hated reading growing up. I absolutely hated reading, but my mom actually forced me particularly out of all my sisters to read. And I think I'm very grateful because it actually created my love of words and language and writing. So yeah, I would say that I was really grateful for her being a mom that was really invested in her kids' development when it came to creativity. My dad is a very creative person. He was a builder. And so I always saw his creativity come out through how he built homes. We moved around a lot too, because he'd always build us a house and we move into it. But he really was someone who was really into detail and colors and just style. And I was always impressed. I think I didn't really appreciate that until I was older. I looked back and I was like, wow, my dad was actually really a creative person. I always saw him just as a builder, but growing up, but getting older, I was like, that's actually a lot of creativity came out in his building. So yeah, I would say my parents were pretty influential as far as developing creativity in me or allowing me the space to grow in that.
Yeah. And from all the things I know about you, even just listening to that, I can see so many of those skills that you operate in now, which is really cool. Yeah.
They actually didn't, I think, start to like blossom, if you want to use that word, until I was in my 30s. I like just the idea of writing and storytelling and all of that didn't come out until I was in my 30s. So they're not maybe laying dormant inside of me until I came a little bit older, and I really appreciated, and realized I actually saw the connection to like when I was little, all that stuff that was in like the seeds that were planted.
And when you said, because you talked about your sisters and being the youngest and a follower, and then having that connection in your 30s to all those things, do you feel like part of that journey was just really figuring out who you were outside of those influences?
Yeah, I think so. I think my sisters are like really strong individuals in themselves. And I think I just learned to be, growing up, to be someone that molded to the situation that I was in. I'm a peacekeeper person. So which I should be a peacemaker, not a peacekeeper, but yeah, I think I found that I was really more aware of keeping people good. I was really more about atmospheres and about making sure people were okay. So I was more concerned if people were doing well and were doing what they loved and support them. And then in that regard, I would put myself on the back burner. But I think becoming of age and learning that you can do both and learning that like what has been in me is really important as well. So to bring that out.
That's so powerful. And I think I can really resonate with those things. And I'm sure a lot of people watching can, that need to please and to listen to everyone else's voice. And sometimes you don't even know what your own voice is, I think, in that space.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah. I
true.
think learning your own thoughts is it's really important. I think right now in my life, I just turned 40. So I remember the whole thing is you have a midlife crisis when you turn 40. But I was talking to my husband. I'm like, what do I actually love? What are my passions? And you think that you should have it figured out now, but I don't know if you ever have it figured out. But just that question of what do I love? What are my passions? What are my goals? What are my dreams? And I think that's just coming into your own still. So mine's a little bit more delayed because I'm somebody that's very much more geared to making sure people are doing what they love and serving. So I think others find that a little bit quicker in life. And mine has been a little bit delayed, which is okay because it's always at the right time.
Mm-hmm. And I think when things do connect, because I really believe that all of those things are in you. It's just taking the time to listen and to really like ask yourself those real questions. Because I think there'll be people on here that are like, I don't know what my purpose is. I don't know. I know there's things inside of me. And that was a big inspiration in doing this. So even for you, as you've been getting to ask yourself those questions, what are some of the things that are helping you to really put that stuff into practice?
Yeah, I think seeing people doing really well and thriving in their life makes me a bit jealous. So I think jealousy in a healthy way is pushing me towards asking those questions about what's my purpose here on earth. I think you do know, but it's in the sense of, am I living that out? Am I actually letting time go by when I'm not using talents and giftings that have been put in me? I think being uncomfortable is a good thing. I think it pushes you towards asking yourself those tough questions about what are my talents, what are my giftings, what am I passionate about, who am I, and how can I serve people around me. I don't know, I just think it's something that probably comes up, and I find that it comes up in the rhythm every couple of years. All of a sudden I'm at this place again where I'm like asking myself these questions, and I get a little bit frustrated with that rhythm because I'm like, am I not learning? But I think it's almost like a housekeeping thing where it naturally comes up every couple of years where you ask yourself that question. But that's more, hey, are you being responsible with what's inside of you? And it's a good thing. I've hated it, but I've also realized it's a good thing.
I love that.
Yeah.
Like asking yourself, like it's a lot of, I think, self-talk. And oftentimes I think even as I listen to you, it's the things that are placed in you and how you said, am I using them? So a lot of people will probably watch this and be like, yeah, I do know that I have these abilities, but I haven't been using them. So that kind of challenge to actually then put into place like things you can do to be using your talent. So what are some of the things that you do that you feel like, yeah, that like when you're doing it, it like lights you up and you're like, this makes me happy. And this is something that I feel like I'm walking in my purpose with.
Yeah. So I've always loved people. I love people. And I think everyone does, but I do really love people and finding out their story. And so I love hearing people's journeys. And then from there, I actually love sharing people's stories. So I'm always accused of being a story topper. So back in my 20s, I just remember a friend said to me, that's who you are. You're a story topper. And I was like, no, I'm not. I just get really inspired by someone tells me a story and I'm like, oh, that reminds me of this story. And so I'll just start sharing. And then at that time in my life, I remember friends saying, you're a really good storyteller. So that came with just, I think, loving people's stories, hearing things that have happened to them and wanting to communicate that on their behalf if they would let me. And so I started to desire to interview people, write their story and share it with people. And it was stuff that it was more about people's journeys, like the idea of hardship turning into something really beautiful. And so I always wanted to share those people's stories, and just learning to write them and in different ways and express them has been something that I've really loved in my 30s. That came out in my 30s when I started a blog, writing about people and communicating just different things that I've even learned in my life. And it was something that I love to do. And then it hit, to be honest, it hit a little bit of a stale place and it went quiet for a while. And I think just even recently in this last year, starting to feel the desire to do it again. Not so much always interviewing people, but writing just ideas or thoughts or things that I've learned, lessons that I've learned from people. And yeah, so it's something that I'm still growing in. I know it's in me. I know I have this love and desire for words. I think words are really powerful, and how you use them is very important. The idea of story is that I think back in the olden days how they didn't have social media, they didn't have any of this. And I'm talking like olden days, like sitting around the campfire days, and how kids learn. Kids learn through story, and kids learn about like their ancestors through stories, and how like lessons were taught through that. And I think it's really important. I think we can learn a lot from people and what they've gone through. And so I want to be that person that helps people learn in that way.
No, I love that. And I feel like even in the interviews I've been doing there's a theme of stories. And I think the connection between your story and being authentic is so powerful. And I think that in a world where everything can be cookie cutter and put together, and you can really make things perfect, you can edit things perfect, you can make your words perfect in the world we live in. So that's just so beautiful, sharing the struggle and what that really looks like and the beauty that's in that. So I think that's amazing. And I'm hoping that's what people get out of this, that not everyone's journey is perfect, but what comes out of it is beautiful. So I don't know if there's anything that has been really challenging in your life that you had to face and push through. Like, how do you deal with those things?
I think for me, somebody who's very much like man pleasing deals with that a little bit. That has like a greater influence on you when you step into something, when you take the risk to step out. You're really more, it's weird because you have this like courage to step out into something, but then also you have the loud voice of the man pleasing around you. So it seems like it's a huge step of risk. And so when I started like writing my blog, it was a big risk because there's lots of people out there that are probably better writers than I am. And I think you'll get that with anything that you do. There's always going to be somebody that could do it better than you. But I feel like the next day I would post something. I had this, they call it an emotional hangover. Like you just feel super exposed. You feel very vulnerable. And it's just like such a huge risk. And you have to talk yourself through it. And those were really tough times for me when I would post a story or an interview or something personal, doing a writing of my own experience and sharing that. I felt really exposed. And I had a lot of like inner voices that were like, oh, you shouldn't have done that. Or that was stupid. You sound so silly. Now people know you, like know a part of you. And they're going to form this opinion of you. So I had all these things to battle through. But for the most part, I just stuck with it and stuck through it. And I think I look back now and just remember and can see that actually wasn't even true. Like those voices, hindsight is great. But yeah, I had to really learn how to push through. And I think the way that I pushed through was I felt like even if one person read that story that was like super encouraging to where they're at, it's worth it. I'm not going to let my insecurities limit someone else from having something to help them overcome, or limit them from actually like realizing that they're not the only one that's gone through something difficult. So I really have to like almost be like, stop being selfish, Angela. This isn't all about you, although it is, I'm part of it. But yeah, it's a lot of just pushing through.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people can relate to those feelings. And it's probably what keeps most people back is the fear of, or what if, and so that I loved how you just said, like, you're exposing a part of you, and it is, right? And what if people don't like what they see, or what if, and it doesn't matter if you're stepping into what you know is in you and you're supposed to do. For anyone watching that can relate to that, I think it's just something to remember, that if it's only one person, like Angela said, like it's worth it. And I think I have another guest that's a writer as well. And just even he was just saying how therapeutic it is to just write.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think like the idea of exposing yourself, I think it's a beautiful thing. I think somehow we've made it into this negative thing where it's like, oh my gosh, like for me, it's obviously rooted in insecurity. But I think exposing yourself and who you are is such a gift to people. Like we are all, the way that we have been made, the way that we've been knitted together, like how we think and how like the desires and creativity and passions that are inside of us and our values and our characteristics, like who we are as a person, is a gift to the people around us. And so the word exposing can be a harsh word, and so maybe sharing is a better word.
But that's how you feel. Yeah.
Feel exposed, but you're actually really just sharing yourself with people, and you yourself are like, you're needed. Who you are is really needed in this world. And so I think when you can change your perspective on that, it'll be more of a like, this is a gift I'm giving to people. It's a part of myself, sharing like my insights or what I've gone through.
That's so good. And I see that in you. We've had a lot of conversations, and just that mindset and the ability to look at a situation that you could internalize and feel bad for, or self-pity, all of these things. But it's in that moment you have a choice, right? Like whether to internalize it or to say, okay, how can I then help people in this space? And so what you're saying is, I know that's who you are. And so I think for people that are really trying to figure out their purpose, just even recognizing the people that they can help is a good part of figuring out what you're meant to do.
Yeah, I agree.
Who you're drawn to. So with your like writing, what do you want to make people feel when they read it?
I think encouraged. I would say one of my giftings or characteristics is encouragement. I really do love to encourage people. I think it's a natural thing. I remember my mom got a call from my grade 1 teacher saying, Angela's a great student, but she needs to start working on her own work. Because I would just go and help people and encourage them, like in the middle of a test or something. I think that's part of who I am. And so I would love for people to be encouraged when they read. I think encouragement is lacking in our world, especially on social media or different things. Like I think we see it, but I think it's not the loudest voice that we hear right now is encouragement. So I would love for people to be encouraged when they read things that I write or stories. I actually took down my blog a couple of weeks ago because I know it's perfect timing for this.
Put it back up.
Yeah. But I felt like in my 30s, I wrote it, was really invested in it, and it was great. But I feel like I've learned so much since then and grown so much. So I want to reshape it. And so I'm in this process of like actually redoing it to share like different things that I've learned to encourage other people. Mm-hmm. Keep trusting, to keep being of faith, to not give up, to keep going. Just that current that I really want to speak towards. So yeah, hopefully encourage people are.
Yeah. So Angela, if people want to read what you have to say, where can they find you?
I'm just actually creating it right now, kind of reforming it and putting some new posts up. So yeah, they can find me on there.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Your insight is beautiful. I know people would be encouraged listening to you. So thank you for being here.
You're welcome. And I kind of just felt like I just wanted to really encourage people, of course, encouragement. Really want to encourage people to, just to see like how they're made. Like how are you knitted together? What are the things that are in you? And then with those things, serve people. Serve those around you. I think whether that's in your job that you do for your 9 to 5, or if you have the privilege of doing what you love as your job, whatever it is that you're doing, really use who you are to serve people and to help people and to inspire people. I think it's never for us. It's never a selfish thing. We're here to help others. Just finding that out and taking the time to actually see how you're made is really important. So
even that was like a little poem. So good. You like tied it all up with a little bow. So the fabric. Thank you.
Thanks for asking me to be here.
Of course.